Afu. I'm from the economics major batch 2019 and I'm a double degree student currently enrolled in both University of Indonesia and Universiteit van Amsterdam, Netherlands.
Hi guys, my name is Alia Bianca. I'm a part of economics degree batch 2015 and then I went abroad for single degree program to the Sciences Po University in Paris.
The reason why I choose UVA, honestly, I think when I was choosing my partner university, I just thought I want to live in a big city. I looked into all the academic curriculums of all universities that I'm going to attend to, of course, yes. But I don't think the differences in academic contents convinced me enough to not choose another university and go to UVA instead. But I think that speaks to a lot of my experience currently in UVA, because my top priority is not just studying and not just learning something from a different perspective, but I also want to experience the social life of the international culture, especially when Amsterdam is very diverse compared to any other region in the Netherlands. I want to experience the social life, how it feels to live like in a capital city with very different cultures compared to Indonesia and Jakarta, and I think that's why I choose to go to UVA. The academic comprehension is something that you can always get. It's something that you can always choose to pursue. If you want to, you will always find a way. I believe in that if you put your mind to it. But the privilege of living in other country with very different cultures and get to experience all these diversities is not something that you can experience twice.
So the reason why I choose Sciences Po as my destination university is mainly because of French. At the time, I was really interested to learn about French culture, culinary, and also the language. And not only that, I also saw that Sciences Po is actually one of the best schools for me to learn about international relation degree. And at that time, I was really curious to actually learn more about studies other than economics, and knowing that Sciences Po is one of the best schools for me to learn about international relation, so I took it.
For files, for paperwork, and for visa applications and such, I actually think the faculty did a good job helping their students to get through the bureaucracy and get the papers finished. The only thing that I can suggest is to be disciplined and try to make appointment as soon as possible for all of your paperwork, because Netherlands is all about paperwork and all about appointments. If you don't make appointments, they won't allow you in, and it also applies when you're in Netherlands as well. Phone calls, there's such a thing here, and basically that's it for paperwork. Yeah, but I think the big deal, the real deal when preparing to go to other country is making sure that you have somewhere to stay actually. And in Netherlands there's currently a housing shortages, so it's kind of hard to find houses these days unless you apply for a waiting list in housing websites, and it could take very long, up to 9 months even. But if you go with UVA's housing agency, they could provide you with an offer for like just 3 weeks or something, but that's not something everyone can always afford. And you can always look for infos in Facebook. Oh yeah, Netherlanders use Facebook a lot. You can also use Facebook. You can also use the student housing websites like room.nl or the key, but sometimes without the agency it take very long time. As I said, it could take as long as 9 months, and there's a lot of scams out there, so be careful.
To create an Excel file which lists down the potential list of your apartment, Then from there, you can like select which one is the most suitable one for you.
I think the biggest thing that I have to learn to adapt to when I'm going to Netherlands is that I'm going to be alone. About culture and socially, you can always learn to adapt to it, but the idea of being independent and being away from your families and friends, it's something that takes you a while to get used to. You're going to be alone, even go with your friends, of course, and definitely you will be going out of your comfort zone, and sometimes it takes a while for people to take that in. And when you're out of your comfort zone, actually all of your issues, they will, if you didn't fix them when you're in the comfort zone, they will come right back at you when you're out of it. So I actually spent few first month during my stay here just self-reflecting into myself, thinking about the things that I could have done and the things I couldn't done. It's basically just a massive maturing experience for me.
For the first few months, I feel like the most challenging part was the difference of education between Indonesia and French. So in Indonesia, usually is one way, whether in French, it's mostly two-ways conversation. So whenever we are on class, the lecture is only a mediator basically. So what the regular class would look like is basically we as the student will need to present something and then to discuss, to debate, and I think it was really different back in Indonesia. But for the next few months, I certainly adapted the educational style in French.
Nothing is holding you accountable here in college wise. I mean, there are no attendances, there are no tutorial attendances. The scores are purely based on your midterm and final term tests, sometimes like additional tasks, but it's not as big as the mid and the final test. It's mostly just 10% or something. So you could just not go into any of the lectures and not going into any of the tutorials. You could just skip everything and directly go to the midterm and the final term, and nothing's going to hold you accountable for that. Nothing's going to yell at you for not doing too good or something. It's up to your own willingness to self-study and your own willingness to go through with the program if you want to pass the courses. Also, in Netherlands, there's this really good sense of work and life balance. There are actually times where students are petitioning against the faculty because our final examinations are way too close to Christmas and people want to go home in time during Christmas and be able to spend time with their family. And the faculty actually agreed to change the final term dates. It's not something that you will see every day in Indonesia. That's something interesting, I think. And that being said, I couldn't say I prefer one over another. I think they have their own pros and cons, and I find both of them studying in both countries interesting in their own ways.
To be honest, I can choose which one I would prefer, but I think both in French and Indonesia has their pros and cons in terms of educational style. So yeah, I think combination of both would be the best.
Living costs. I think that's like the biggest issue we're talking about when choosing to live outside of the country or not. Well, if you really do a strict budgeting, I mean, you choose the cheapest housing possible, you only eat from your groceries. I mean, you cook and maybe you walk to your campus or ride bicycle every day without public transportation or private. um, I think you can make it of below 1,000 euros per month. I mean, this is Amsterdam. It's going to be considerably more expensive than any other regions in the Netherlands, and there's also housing shortage, so the price for houses are not the most friendly here. But the government, they also offer some benefits like housing benefits and health benefits, and if you fulfill some of the criteria, you can get some money sent to your bank account each month. And I think that's very beneficial for you if you really need that some of that cash. And also the part-time job here, it's very common for students to go into part-time jobs, and they actually pay pretty well. Not too good to be able to cover all of your bills, but it's big enough for you to be able to cover your rents and give you that some extra cash for some spending.
So considering the living cost in Paris was a lot higher than the rest of the city in Europe, right? What I did was I find a roommate for me to stay while I was in Paris. And then after that, I also find another part-time job while I was in Paris. So I actually have two different jobs while I was there. So the first one is I work for a brand, a bridal fashion brand, which is called FEB KKI. And I worked for the sales associate at that time for the Paris Fashion Week event. So that was on the first one. And the second one is I also worked for the Indonesian embassy, because at that time they were having a event which is called Batik for the World. So basically this event was held by the Indonesian embassy, right? And then they invited a lot of Indonesian designers to come to Paris to showcase the batik to everyone, basically. So yeah, I did a second internship in there, and I really recommend for you to find a part-time job there to have your own pocket money.
Since I'm in a double degree program, I'm going to do my thesis here in Amsterdam, and graduate both in Amsterdam and in Indonesia. But for like a more further insight into the future, actually I'm still not sure what I'm going to do, but I think if things went well, I'm trying to extend my visa and perhaps get a job in the Netherlands or in the Europe region. But that's my first choice. But if not, I'm basically an open book. I'm open to opportunities that may come to me, so I'm quite flexible with my decisions.
After completing a semester in Paris, I went back to Indo, right? At that time, I was focusing on my thesis and then my two last semesters in UI, and also I was lucky enough to have an opportunity to be working part-time at Deloitte. So I was balancing between work and also campus. And then after I graduated from UI, I started my first full-time job at CMB Niaga.
Well, for the last question, I'm assuming this is advices for students who's going to transfers or exchanges, so I hope I don't misinterpret that. Well, moving to another country, I think it's an experience where you're forced to be independent some ways, and that changes a lot. You need to be able to do everything by yourself. You need to cook, you need to go to schools by yourself. No one's going to hold you accountable for it, and most obviously you need to be able to take care of yourself. And sometimes you don't have the capacity to do that. Sometimes you couldn't do that for any reasons. It could be maybe mental issues, or maybe you're just too busy to be able to remember to eat or to do your basic care routine. And that's why during your stay, please get a support system, get someone that you can trust, and get them to hold your emergency contacts and everything, and let them know your state, so this way you can be safe. And if there, well, hopefully not, but if there's something happen to you, you have someone to go to, let it be emergencies or maybe just someone to talk to. um, yeah, support system, I think it's a very crucial part of moving along. I think it's a way to let you stay sane during these times, and especially during times when you're still learning to adapt. It's very important to have someone that you can hold on to.
So my last advice for you who are going to be completing your exchange program, the first thing I advise is planning. So you need to know which university that you want, and then after that you need to plan the submission date and then accommodation, visa. So you need to make a clear timeline about that. And then the second advice from me is for you to enjoy your time while you were there, because I would say my 6 months in Paris was one of the happiest moments in my life so far.